Welcome back, friends. We are here at the PlayStation LiveCast, straight from PlayStation Experience in San Francisco. I'm Justin Massengill, and I'm here with Corey Rollins from Klei. Thanks for joining us, sir.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. So we're here to talk about Don't Starve Together. Don't Starve was a very popular game on PS4, one of the earlier streaming games. You see people streaming it all the time. Tell me about Don't Starve Together and how it differs from the original game.
Sure. So Don't Starve Together is the multiplayer sort of new spin on Don't Starve. Don't Starve was originally built as a single-player survival game.
Yeah.
We could describe it as the wilderness survival game full of science and magic. And it was meant to be a very isolating and alone, very sad experience for you trying to find your way through the wilderness. And with Don't Starve Together, a lot of people had been asking, oh, we wish it was multiplayer, and we had consistently been like, no, it's a lonely, sad experience, and you need to be by yourself. And eventually, we got a prototype running that we thought was really fun and worth exploring, and it turned into Don't Starve Together.
Great. So how do you guys take this isolated experience? You guys were pretty adamant about the fact that this is meant to be an isolated, a lonely experience. How do you account for that with multiplayer? How do you change things up without compromising the integrity of the original idea?
Sure. So there's a couple different modes, and some people will want to play the game with a less isolating experience.
Sure.
And because once you add new people, inevitably it's less lonely. But sometimes new people can not necessarily be friendly, so you yourself are still on your own. So we do have, there are PvP elements to it. Most of it is a co-op experience. It kind of pushes you towards a co-op experience, but there are certain servers and settings that you could have that would allow you to kind of go rogue in that aspect.
So we are seeing some gameplay here of Don't Starve Together. We've got 2 players on the screen. What are some of the new gameplay mechanics, new items? How is co-op going to change this game?
Sure. So right now, with the announcement of it coming to PlayStation 4 and it's still actively in development, we just kind of hit the benchmark where our goal was to take the core content of the original Don't Starve and Reign of Giants, balance it for multiplayer, and get it into the game as kind of a stepping stone for all the new content that we're about to add before it comes out in 2016. And basically the new stuff with the multiplayer that we have in right now that's new, it's like creatures like the Yucus.
The Yucus,
okay. Which will definitely want to be approached by more than one character. It's a really gnarly looking sheep that spits snot on you and freezes you, and your friend needs to help release you from that. There's also a lot of new items and gameplay mechanics that will involve more than one character that will kind of push you towards helping each other. One other mechanic, we may see it in the demo, is the ghost mechanic. So you can actually have a mode where when you die, you turn into a ghost. You don't actually just die. It's not just over. And your friends, hopefully they're your friends, have a chance to resurrect you. And there's different server modes you can have, and one of which is that when you turn into a ghost, everyone in the server starts going insane. Like, slowly starts going insane. So they're kind of incentivized by the sanity meter to restore your health because it's in their best interest to do that.
All right, if you see a ghost, you're probably not going to keep your cool.
Yeah, and then there's all these sort of server settings and things that allow people to kind of craft both mandatory rules of like, yes, there's PvP, or no, there is not. Okay. Or there's like more subtle gameplay things like that where I'm going to play in survival mode where if there's somebody who's a ghost, we need to address that and fix it.
Cool. So for multiplayer here, I see we have 2 players on the screen right now. How many players are we looking at any given time? Is this a 2-player game, or?
Sure. So this will be a multiplayer game.
Cool.
So for PlayStation 4, we're still locking down the exact numbers. I can say for sure 4, but we're trying to see how high we can go.
Cool. So at least 4 players.
For sure 4 players, but we're probably, I would expect up to 8, but how high we can get above that, we're not sure. What's going on that side just yet.
Nice. So when you're balancing for multiplayer, do you encounter any challenges thinking like, well, if we have 2 players here, this will work really well, but if we get up to like 8 players at a time, that could kind of break the game in a certain way.
Yeah, so for a game like this in particular, one thing that needs to come into play is like resources. How big is the map? Is there enough rock or trees to even sustain, a way above 8 players and things like that? So there's all sorts of weird little balancing about food, rations, just things in the environment, how many creatures are there, how big's the world. So we'll figure that out, but for sure you'll be able to play with 4 players, which right now is probably the most popular kind of thing, is to get 4 core people in there and go play. Some people do prefer playing with more, but we'll for sure be able to do that.
Yeah, cool. So are we looking at an online situation, split screen? How is the multiplayer going to work?
Sure. So multiplayer will definitely be happening for online and LAN. So you'll be able to do up however many people we get in play multiplayer. But we're also going to be able to do split screen for the first time.
Great.
So PlayStation 4 is going to have split screen couch co-op. So you and one other person can play on the same TV and be able to hopefully not starve.
Awesome. So, you mentioned that we're going to see some new monsters, some new items in the game. Can you give us any examples? What are some of the cool new monsters we're going to see?
We don't really have a reveal on the new monsters yet, but I will say that the monsters that we previously had, like the giants, they've been totally reworked. So they actually act and behave differently in this game in terms of their attacks. Sometimes they spawn little minions and things like that now. They are definitely much more multiplayer-centric in their actions. We will have a whole bunch of new creatures and stuff coming. But yeah, we're probably early 2016. We'll start talking about exactly the new content for PlayStation 4.
Sounds good. So live streaming. This was a really popular live streaming game after it came out. I always saw it on my PS4. People were always streaming Don't Starve. Great game to just while I'm eating dinner, pop it on and watch people try to survive. Some people got up to a ridiculous time, they had months, years going. What are some of the craziest things you've seen people do with Don't Starve?
Well, honestly, the most impressive things have been the ones on PlayStation 4 because I know they didn't use mods. I know that they actually did the stuff manually the way that they did it. And one of the craziest things I saw yesterday was a guy, he emailed me, I made him email me the picture of this map where he basically he turned his whole map, and by replanting resources and stuff, he wrote Klei Entertainment, Don't Starve PlayStation 4 with a mural of Wilson and a giant camp. And I was like, holy crap. And I know he didn't just go into a mod and paint that because
That's
it's
incredible.
on PlayStation 4. I've seen some people, upwards of over 1,000 days survived and stuff. I've seen people make every single square on the map, they've etched out giant agriculture squares of, this is my meat farm square, this is my square of 1,000 chests, and I
survived for a couple weeks. I think that's pretty impressive.
There's very crazy maps and builds and crazy things that we've seen people do with Don't Starve and I guess retexturing of the maps and stuff.
Speaking of crazy things, you guys came out with Adventure Mode, which introduced some cool new stuff. There's a lot of things in Don't Starve that the casual player won't encounter.
Probably
There's
not.
a lot of stuff hidden pretty deep in that game. Are you following this tradition with Don't Starve together? Are you going to be adding more little Easter eggs and things people are going to need to scour the game for?
Yeah, Easter eggs and little nods and we call them set pieces. They're just weird things that can appear. One of the first ones in the original Don't Starve is it's a set piece for a graveyard.
Yeah.
And the graveyard, if you go inspect it, it's all the people who work at the studio, and it's all their.
That's
graves.
a little morbid, man.
But then, if you dig them up, then all their angry ghosts come out and chase you.
That's fair.
But yeah, we're gonna have a lot of new set pieces and little pieces of kind of hidden stuff, and something will definitely add or replace the kind of void of not having the adventure mode, because Don't Starve Together in its current state doesn't have an adventure mode, and it's probably not going to be exactly the same thing, just oh, it's adventure mode together. It's going to be something new that's more of a long thing for servers that have been existing for a long time.
So we got our guys playing here. They've made it to day 2. It's nighttime. They're running into trouble.
Yeah, they've incited a Merm Pigman riot.
Yeah, I think this might end poorly.
Willow has just started burning everything down.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? She has that lighter, she has to put it to use. Is there anything else that you want to say to the PlayStation audience while we have you here? You have a captive audience. Go
Captive
nuts.
audience. The PlayStation audience was very important to us in terms of making Don't Starve together, and we were really curious what would happen when we put Don't Starve out on PlayStation 4, and the reception was really good. And I think we're very excited to be able to bring this, and especially the split screen, because of all the stories that we kept hearing about people passing the controller like every in-game day and stuff. So we're very excited to be able to bring split screen. It'll be coming out in 2016. There's a new trailer up showing some of that stuff off. I think Sony's posted it on their YouTube. And yeah, we're very excited to be able to bring it next year.
Fantastic. Well, Corey, thank you very much for joining us. That's Don't Starve Together. You can get it in 2016 on PlayStation 4.
PlayStation